Good morning, e-learners. Welcome to class. What's graded? All right. I believe I gave you two instructions. What were the instructions? Somebody? What did I say? Go. And what was the first thing I said? Mouths closed. So I know that 7th graders are good people in general, but they need to work on their ability to be quiet. So let's try to work on that. All right, we're ready to go. Any questions on last night's homework? Yes, ma'am, go. You may. Yes, you may. Let's look at numero 10. Nummer 10, as they say in Germany. Anybody speak another language? What do you speak? What language?
Spanish.
How do you say 10 in Spanish?
Oh, I say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Number 10 looks as following. E-learners, look at your book for number 10. Pause the video, look at 10. So it says 15 times 17 times 12. 15 times 17 times 12. Now, when Mr. C taught this class yesterday, I'm referring to myself as I showed you typically there's some friendly numbers. Do you see any friendly numbers up there? So I would say most people would look at those numbers and say there's not a friendly number up there. However, other people might say or see, some people would see 15 and 12. Now, if you don't view those as easy numbers, I'm with you. I understand. 15 and 12 are the easy numbers. Why? Because 2 times 5 is 10. Therefore, we can multiply 15 times 12 and get 180. Is that right? I don't know. Well, we're going to have to verify. 15 times 12. Estimation, well, 15 times 10 is 150. So 180 is a close, right? 2 more 15s would be 30. 30 plus 150 is 180, right? But maybe that's just over your head, right? You just do the math and you're going to find out. Let's see. 2 times 5 is 10, carry your 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Bring down the 0. 5, 1, it's 180. Okay? Now, this is typically where I get kids who like the eyes glass over and they're like, okay, yeah, none of this seems easy. That's fine. And you just got to multiply the 3 numbers. But for those of you that saw the 15 times 12, right, and you do it quickly, then it will make your life slightly easier. I still have to multiply what? I mean, that's just 180. What do I got to do now? Enjoy. Have fun. Right? I'm not gonna commit. You understand what to do now? But I agree with you that there is not a friendly number up there for most of us. Okay? If this was a 2, heck yeah, 2 times 15 is 30, right? Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's grade this sucker. Here we go. 2 through 28 evens. Remember, I'm going to do this quickly, which is why you should have your answers circled so that you can see them very quickly. I would prefer that you do this in pen so that I don't ever question whether or not you're writing the answers down. And then your homework should look like this, where I can see your work next to it. It's not just answers. Here we go. Number 2 is 55. Number 4 is 162. Very nice. Number 6 is, everybody?
0.
Nice. And I'm not saying nice doesn't mean you're horrible. It just means that I'm pointing out the people that have awesome homework. Number 8 is 41. Very nice. Number 10 is 3,060. 3060. 3060. Right. That's fine. And most people would just say. Number 12 is also 0. Number 14 is not 0. It's 144. Number 16 is 9,100. Oh my word, these are getting large, aren't they? Number 18 is even larger. 10,850. Number 20 is 320. Ooh, addition. Back to friendly numbers. Number 22 is 4,200. We're almost done. 24 is 450. 26 is 14,000. 14000. And the last one, class, the answer is 990. Count up how many you got wrong. Put that on the top of your page. And then the people that I had collect. Who handed out? Who collected that? No. Just the one. You make a sewing mistake. Okay, so let's see. We're collecting homework. We're passing out the sheet for today. And the rest of you, once I go back here real quickly, the rest of you are going to copy down your homework. I do not need you to rip off the little sides of the paper, right? If you can do like this young man is doing right here, which is he's carefully ripping it out, right? That's fine. But look at me here, buddy. I don't need you to spend any time tearing this off, right? I don't care. I can live with that. Some teachers are not like me. I think Miss McCullis is like, ooh, I don't want those things. She deals probably with more paper than I do, but I don't care. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Probably by the second or third week, when you forget to bring something to class, I'm going to kind of lock down and say, nope, no going to your locker. But the first week or two, getting back to the swing of things, yeah, I'll cut you some slack. Yes. Go for it.
I was a little confused on
Oh, so it says lesson 1.4, a worksheet. Oh, do you have the worksheet?
No.
Therefore, just put it up there. Therefore, I must, at the end of class, give you the worksheet. Occasionally, I'm slow and old and I forget. So if I assign, and I don't do it every, a couple times, I'll give you a worksheet because I don't like their homework. I'd rather do my homework. So a couple times I make up my own worksheet. And like I said, sometimes I forget. And even though I sign it, I forget to hand it to you. So please, a smarter kid than me, remind me that, hey, you didn't hand us the worksheet. And then become the most popular kid in the class. Why? Because you just remind the teacher to hand out the homework. Right? If you don't remind the teacher, then you don't have homework. Yes? Why do we skip 1.3? So it's on something called inverse. We're not skipping it. I prefer to teach it when we get to this thing called solving equations. Inverses are used right before we solve equations. So I will teach 1.3 at a later date. But good question, and thank you for noticing. All right, Rubik's Cube, put it away. Yes?
I have a picture on my desk.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you. Oh, that. Okay. Boy, horrible handwriting. Here we go. Okay, there are times, thank you. There are times when a math teacher will teach you a lesson that you will say, that's ridiculous. I know an easier way of doing it, okay? Today's one of those lessons. So listen carefully. I'm going to show you at least 3, maybe 4 times why I'm doing this. But most of you, or some of you, I should say, will look at today's lesson and say, this is stupid. There's an easier and quicker way. I know. Yes, I understand. I'm teaching you a new technique, and I'm using friendly ways and friendly numbers to teach it. And yes, there is an easier way of doing it. But trust me when I say I'm teaching you something that you will use, probably not this year much, but next year, and then when you're a freshman in high school, all the time, sophomore, junior, too. It's called the distributive property. How many people right now already know how to do the distributive property? Okay? I'm going to teach you the distributive property with only numbers. So I'm going to teach you the long way of doing easy math today. Second time I'm saying this. I'm going to show you a technique that works, but seems silly and too long and too complicated to get to an easy answer. Why? Because we'll be using this technique later on more complicated things. All right, enough of that. Let's see what I'm talking about. All right, so today is absolutely 100% an easy day. But the issue is that, like I said, I typically have some kids that have heard nothing of what I just said, and they will look at the first problem and say, that's stupid. There's an easier way of doing it. Agreed. Okay? This is a teaching technique. Distributive property is 100% big boy, big girl math. I mean, when we get next year, and especially Algebra 1, we do distributive property, it's big boy, big girl math. All right, so stay with me. Write down this definition. It is a complicated, it's given in math speak, so to say, right? It's a math person giving you the definition. We got to write it this way. That's the way it's done. I will explain it in detail. So don't worry if you're like, I'm writing words and I don't know what they mean. Yes, sir. Go for it. All right, the distributive property is the product. The product is a fancy word for, the word product is a fancy word for multiplication. So why doesn't it say the multiplication of? Because we like the word product. The product of any whole number and the sum or difference. Sum means what? Go for it.
Addition.
Difference means what?
Subtraction.
So the multiplication of the addition or subtraction of whole numbers. What? That doesn't make any sense. Remember what I said? Write the words down. It will make sense once we do some. And then when you reread the definition, it will make a lot of sense. The product of any whole number and the sum or difference of whole numbers, plural, is equal to the product, the multiplication, of its parts. You see, that doesn't make any sense. Agreed?
Yeah.
It will after we do some. The product of any whole number and the sum or difference of whole numbers is equal to the product of its parts. Probably one of the longest definitions we will write this year. Bless you. Yes. Go for it. Malachi. You're all here. You okay?
No.
Yes.
We're missing one person.
Who are we missing?
Ace.
How does everybody forget them?
I don't know. I'm even looking at it and I missed it. Luckily, I didn't take attendance yet. Thank you for correcting. I should give you a point. But technically, that would be a math mistake. I counted incorrectly. All right, we're moving on. Okay, crazy, complicated definition, right? Write this down underneath. This is all in box 1. Remember, when we show you examples after a definition, I generally don't show numbers. I show nothing but variables. These variables could stand for any whole number. So, the product. Remember, A in a parenthesis means multiplication. Remember? Right? So, A times, we say the quantity, B plus C. So this is the product of any whole number and the sum, we'll see difference here in a second, is equal to the product of its parts. Just write that down. Trust in my guidance, and this will make sense after we do some examples. So it says the sum or difference, so let's see one where there's a difference. Okay, the product of the difference of two whole numbers is equal to the product of its parts. Notice the plus has a plus. The minus has a minus, or the addition has an addition, subtraction has a subtraction. This probably, to most of you, doesn't make much sense right now, and that's okay. It will after we do some examples. Some math teachers would show you the example first and then the definition. Okay, I can go with that. I tend to get the bad stuff out of the way first, the definition, and then show you examples, and then I roll back to the definition so that you can, okay, now it makes sense. We okay? Here we go. So don't panic that you don't understand the definition. You will understand the process. So here's an example. Okay, this is just the generic definition right here. Underneath that, I'll show you one with numbers. You see the numbers? Okay, so this says if it looks like this, hey, it looks like this. I got a number and then an open parentheses, a number and then an open parentheses. And two numbers added together, two numbers added together. Here's what it says. It says take the letter on the outside, the number on the outside, and multiply it by the first thing. So what am I going to multiply by?
4.
I'm going to multiply this times this. That's what it says. So I'm going to multiply that times that. What I like to do is use arrows. The arrows force you to look at the two numbers you're about to multiply. When we think about this, it's called the distributive property. Just a couple minutes ago, you had a kid walking down distributing a piece of paper. Did the person skip someone or did they hand it to everyone? Right? That's what this is doing. I need to distribute this 3 to everything on the inside. So I'm going to distribute the 3 to the 4 through multiplication. See what I did? Plus, right? Why plus? Because we're adding A times C. So this one times this one. In other words, I need another arrow, right? That one. So what am I going to write now? 3 times 9. Okay? Now let's do the math. 3 times 4 is?
12.
3 times 9 is?
27.
27. And 12 plus 27 is? All right, who's the person whose pants are itching right now? And they're like, wait, that's stupid. There's an easier way. What's the easier way? You just add 4 plus 9 and get what? 13. So I could add 4 plus 9 and get 13, and 13 times 3 is? So I'm going to go back to what am I doing? I'm teaching you the distributive property. I'm teaching you a longer method of doing something that's pretty easy. Why? I'll show you here. Why, the big but here, why I'm doing this is because in pre-algebra, algebra 1 and higher, that's what you're going to be doing. What's x plus 4y? I don't know either. So by the time you get to pre-algebra and algebra 1, you have to use the distributive property. We don't have the option. Check it out. I have the option of adding 4 plus 9 here. I can add 4 plus 9. But next year, you don't have that option. We can't add x plus 4y. Not possible. I don't know what x is and I don't know y is. So in order to do this, you have to use it. Are we going to do this? Are we going to go? Slow down, Mr. C. Are we going to be doing this year? Absolutely not. But next year we will. Yes. Oh no, we're not going to talk about what the answer is. We'll keep that for next year. If you're very curious, see me for tutoring. This is what we're going to be doing this year. So even though there is an easier way of doing this, we teach you the distributive property so that we don't have to mess around when we have to use the distributive property. So just for today, I'm going to teach you the distributive property using numbers, even though we know there's a simpler way of doing it. Are we okay? After today, if I give you this, guess what you can do? You can either use the distributive property or say 4 plus 9 is 13, 13 times 3. Who's lost? Okay. All right, let's do some more examples. All right. So here we go. The product of the sum of two numbers is equal to the product of its parts. So I'm just going to follow this pattern right here. It says take this and multiply it by that. So in other words, arrow, this times this, I'm going to write it out. Most people just do the math, right? Most people don't write it out. They just write the answer, yes? Plus, right, this times it, this time A times C. This time, I'm distributing the 2 to everything on the inside. I'm going to give the 2 to 1, plus I'm going to give the 2 to the 13. But I'm going to use multiplication. Now we simply do the math. 2 times 1, 2 times 13. And what's 2 plus 26? Okay. What's 1 plus 13? 14 times 2 is? Once again, I'm showing you a complicated way of doing a fairly easy problem. Why? Because next year, you know how to use the distributive property when you have to. Today, you still have to do the distributive property. Tonight for homework, you have to use the distributive property. But after today and tonight's homework, you're free to say 1 plus 13 is 14. 14 times 2 is 28. Still a little confused? Okay, good. Yes?
Yes.
It does seem stupid, right? Why would I do this? Well, remember, this is next year. I'm teaching you in nice, friendly numbers. You have to use the distributive property. You must. I don't know what x plus 4y is next year. This year, they just do it with numbers, right? Just so that you can learn it with nice, friendly numbers. Okay. How many times have I said it now? A ton, right? Okay. So here we go. Oh, we can also do it with subtraction, yes? So what would be the only difference? There's a subtraction between the two products. That's it. I'm still going to have how many arrows? 2, because there's 2 things on the inside. I'm going to give the 8 to both things on the inside using multiplication. You paying attention in the back? Okay. All right. First arrow, what am I going to be multiplying? 8 times 5. Some people will just write the answer. That's okay. Minus this time. Why? Because there's a minus right here. Okay. The second arrow, what am I multiplying? 8 times 3. Now let's do the math. 8 times 5?
40.
8 times 3?
24.
With a subtraction in between. Uh-oh, some of you might have to do scratch work. Anybody do that in their head? 16. Hey, what's 5 minus 3? Times 8?
16.
It does seem silly to do this, right? Okay. What, the 8th time now? We're doing this to learn the distributive property. No, I would not recommend after today that if you're given a problem like this to use the distributive property. That would be silly. But today we are going to use a distributive property. Yes? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like I said, when we get to the ones with the variables, you got to use distributive property. But we won't see that until next year, by the way. Yeah. Well, I will make one last attempt at the end of class to show you how maybe you could use this, right? And you'll see at the very end. All right. Didn't say it was going to be easier, right? All right, so let's do some. Here we go.
Looks real complicated to me. Chewing gum looks complicated to you, hard hat.
I have no idea where that's from. Okay, here we go. And there's always some kid that tells me exactly where it's from. All right, box 2. Here we go. Box 2. No, we're not going to add 6 plus 9 today. We can do that tomorrow and any other day. Let's do the distributive property. How many things on the inside?
2.
So how many arrows am I going to need? Put arrows, right? Especially next year when we have those variables, you're going to need these arrows. So the first arrow, what am I multiplying? For those of you that need to write 5 times 6, write 5 times 6. Others of you can do that in your head. That's okay. Write the answer. What are we doing? A plus or a minus? Plus, what's the second arrow? Tell me to multiply. Okay. So if you need to write 5 times 9, write 5 times 9. If you can tell me the answer to that, then write what the answer to that is. In other words, what I'm giving you leeway to is to skip this step and to write that answer. Most people, when they do distributive property, don't write this. They just simply write the answer. Others of you that will need this because you need to do some scratch work off to the side. Tonight for homework, I think I gave you pretty friendly numbers. All right, 5 times 6 is? 5 times 9 is? And what is 30 and 45? Who is lost? Who still says this is silly? I mean, I say it's silly too, right? But remember, we're learning the distributive property. I don't know if I'll teach you next year, but the teacher, when you get to pre-algebra, when you get to distributive property, will appreciate the fact that you know what you're doing. All right, what's the only difference between this one and this one? Subtraction, right? So the only difference between this and this will be that there's a subtraction in between. We are still doing how many arrows? 2 arrows. The first arrow, what are we multiplying? 5 times 9. I'm not saying we get the same answer. I'm just saying the only big difference here is this one's a subtraction, this one's an addition. This time it's not a minus, or plus, it's a minus subtraction. What's the second arrow? What are we multiplying? Okay, 5 times 6. Those of you that can do both of these in your head, you should have written what? 45 minus 30, which is
15.
Which is 15. Who is lost? You got to be brave and honest. Okay. 2 more. How many arrows? If there were 3 numbers on the inside, how many arrows would you need? I need 3. Next year you will have 3. This year only 2. All right, first arrow, what are we multiplying?
11.
You do that in your head, write the answer. If not, write 11 times 2. The second arrow, what are we multiplying? Or 11 times 3. Remember, it's commutative, so we can do it in any order. 11 times 3, you can do that in your head, write the answer. If not, write 11 times 3. Why did I put a plus, not a minus?
Because
I'm adding on this one. All right, 11 times 2 is?
22.
And 11 times 3 is?
33.
Oh, that's easy to do in your head. What's the answer? I think you guys got this. Yes?
Yes.
I told you today was an easy day. All right. Last one. Oh, big numbers. This one you might have to do some scratch work. Okay? First arrow, what are we multiplying? Okay, that one is an easy one. It's the second one that's harder. So when you see that the numbers are a bit more challenging, I would write out what you're multiplying and then do the math. All right. 25 is like a quarter, yes? I'm trying to help you out here. How many quarters make $1? So if you have 8, how many dollars do you have?
2.
So what's 25 times 8? 200, right? Now, how does 2 turn into 200? We're talking about pennies, right? 200 pennies. 25 cents is, right? 25 cents is not $2, but I understood. I understood. Oh, by the way, what's the answer?
50.
How many people beat me to the answer? Excellent. Got it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Love this one.
Is it going to stop?
No, there's like 2 million or something. Yeah. Just. Malfunctions! It's so many patches.
That's a lot of patches.
Yeah.
Again.
Is it ever going to stop?
No.
Again.
That's it. Okay.
Oh,
All right, do box 4.
done it.
Do box 4. Do the distributive property. Yes, it seems silly right now. After today, you don't need to do on these type the distributive, but today you have to do it. Yeah.
Is this a different paper? This one?
Uh-huh.
This is the one.
No idea what you have.
This is where we learned multiplication, property of 0.
That was from yesterday. How did that get mixed into these?
Oh no, I had this.
Oh, okay. I got. Oh, you came in late, Ace. That's duh.
I went to the.
I'm sorry.
But you haven't done the sentence yet.
I did. You just didn't see me do it.
Ow.
All right. Anybody need assistance?
Is he still done?
You just verifying?
No, I'm just.
Okay.
I've already done all the math.
Yes.
Can you give us more?
In a little bit.
No, don't tell me that.
Worksheets are probably the only day where I don't hand out worksheets first. And that's because you don't have a book to refer to. So when you have a book, a lot of kids will just read ahead. They're like, okay, I got this figured out, right? But when I'm teaching something that has a worksheet, generally it's because I'm not following exactly what's in the book. So I don't like to hand out worksheets early. Yeah.
I think it'll be in this question to figure out how that clock works. So
Yeah, I know.
Well, no one has claimed the free extra credit point yet.
I can.
You got to teach it to the class. We won't do it right
I
now.
know. Oh,
You're 100%.
yes.
I will take away a point if you can't do it. Right
So I have it 3 times out.
100%? All right.
I think I
How about on Friday? Then I will let you. If you get it wrong, I'm going to subtract a point. So you got to be confident.
Yeah.
No,
I remember coming in here at the end of the day and asking my sister what that cost.
Well, there's one way of figuring it out.
really, Abby.
I could just do the math and figure it out.
Well, that's what its purpose is for. Right. Okay. Everyone's working, or are we done?
I'm done.
Which one's up?
It's just
You're
like
almost
fun to watch. Like,
Sorry.
I'm starting.
It is a sneaky way to teach you exponents, is what it really is.
I know about exponents.
I know how it works. I just can't tell it.
We don't actually get to exponents for a while. In this class. Okay, let's bring together. Let's go over these real quick. Parker, you got the first one, upper left. What do you got? You got to talk me through the problem. Go. A little bit louder. Okay. All right, so how many arrows? 2 arrows, right? So I got a 10 times 6 plus. How do you know it's a plus, not a minus? We got a plus, right? Plus 10 times 7. Keep talking. I didn't hear what you said for the last one. I heard the 10 times 6. 10 times 7 is 7. Okay, then what? Add them together, you get perfect. Good job. We good? We good? All right. Where's my clipboard? How about Noah? You take the bottom left. Talk to me. Talk to me. Tell me what to do.
All right. Put arrows to
How many arrows? Okay.
each 5. And
Okay.
then 5 times
I did them out of order.
7 times 5 is 35. And then the other 5 is 7 times 5, which is 35. And then you get 60.
You get what?
60.
You get what?
70.
You get 70. Good job, Noah. All right.
Oh,
All right, you want the next one? All right. Upper one. What do you got?
So you do 2 times. Well, you have to do the 2 arrows.
Okay.
The 2 and then 2.
Okay.
So 2 times 10 is 20, and then 2 times 8 is
And why did I put a subtraction sign?
because you want to subtract.
Okay, because literally there's a subtraction sign right there. Keep talking.
And so you do 20 minus 16 equals 4.
Okay, so 20 minus 16 is 4. Good job. Noah gave us this one. And the last one, you want it? Go.
Okay. So you draw the arrow.
Oh, I got
to the 2 4s, and then you multiply every other 4.
Okay.
And then you multiply 15 times 4, which equals 60. And since we both have the same number, you could just assume that the next one will also be 60. And then 60 minus 60 equals 0.
Okay.
I can draw.
All right. Questions on the distributor property? All right. Silly?
Yes.
Silly when I give you numbers, not silly when I give you variables. When you have variables, you must use the distributive property. If there's numbers after today, absolutely positively, 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 times 15 is 0, right? If you go home and your mom or dad or older brother or sister are looking over your shoulder and they say, what are you doing? That's stupid. 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 times 15 is 0, that's way quicker. What are you going to tell them? You're learning about the distributive property. And
Yes.
is it mathematically correct to say 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 times 15 is 0?
Yes.
Is it mathematically correct to say the distributive property works as well?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Right? But the only reason we're doing this is because you guys don't know anything about variables and how to multiply and how to add them yet. So that when we teach this the first time, that's why we use numbers. Yeah.
My mother would just walk up to me and tell her to say it a different way. I'd say, please go away.
Be nice to your mom.
But then
No, I would fully expect anyone who didn't sit through this class to say that this is silly. Why would you do this?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So if you have to one more time to be visually shown why we're doing this, next year this is what you're going to multiply. So you'll still need the 2 arrows, and then you actually have to multiply 3x squared times x. I'll give a point of extra credit to anyone who can tell me what 3x squared times x is. You know. Yes.
Well, what is X?
You don't get to know.
Then how are we supposed to do this?
And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we just did it with numbers, because you don't know how to multiply with variables. You will. All right. I said I was going to make one last attempt. All right, pay attention. One last attempt. Listen. There is one time where distributed property with numbers does make sense. Okay? Now, there might be someone out there that could tell me, without a calculator, in their head what this is. Right? Most of us would say no. I will show you how you can use the distributive property to find the answer. Check it out. What's the first number?
8.
What's the second number? I'm going to use some math magic, and I'm going to write this as a distributive property. I'm going to write this as 18 times 2 friendlier numbers. I can rewrite 12 as the addition of what 2 friendly numbers?
6 and 6.
I could, but even friendlier.
10 and 2.
How about we use 10 and 2? You see what I just did? Is this, I mean, visually it's different, but is it mathematically any different from the 2? This is called using distributive property to your advantage. I can now do this in my head. Well, let's use a distributive property. 8 times 10?
80.
Wait, that should have been an 8. Sorry. 8 times 10 is? 8 times 2 is?
16.
What's 80 and 16?
200.
What? Yes, I heard something else. This is why I imagine that was an 8, not an 18. That is how you can use a distributive property to your advantage. You do have to use that? No. But that's probably the only way I would think that you would ever want to use the distributive property with just numbers.
No.
No network connection.
Okay, thank you. Questions on anything I taught you today? That is actually the end of class. So, what do I owe you? I owe you. Now, for those of you that sped through all this, I didn't want to give you 40 of these to do, because how many do you need to do to become a master at this?
500.
How many should I assign you?
5.
10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So how many did I give you? What time do we get out of here?
I have
Don't even know.
We get out of here at 8:35. Now, if you know how to read that clock, read it. If not, turn around. How much time do you have left?
20 minutes.
We have 20 minutes. So, math problem. How many minutes per problem?
This is easy. Like literally.
We have 2 minutes. Do you think you can do one of these distributive property problems in 2 minutes?
Yes.
All right.
That's
When
right.
you are done, listen please, when you are done, which you all will be done, every one of you will get done this in class. When you are done, and you're like, well, I'm done, what should you do? You could check with a calculator. You could, I'm not saying you have to. You could do it the other way, the easy way, right? Just do that math. You probably can do that in your head as well too. Check it I don't want you to write down that, but I want you to check it. The easy method, you ever understand what I mean by the easy method, right? Use the easy method to check your answers. And then when you're done with that, you still have 10 minutes left, what should you do? I'm just saying most of you are going to be done in 10 minutes. And we have 20 minutes. So what are you going to do after that?
Read a book.
You may read a book. You may,
What's your policy on napping?
No. My policy is no napping. You may read a book. You may study any other of your classes. You may review your notes. What's your next quiz test in the class?
No, we have the live test.
Well, when is your next math quiz?
Tomorrow.
Oh, we better talk about the quiz. So let's just briefly talk about the quiz, and I'll use up 5 of those minutes. All right, the quiz, which is what, tomorrow or Friday?
Friday.
All right, I gotta go way back and look because I can't tell you off the top of my head. I'm teaching too many classes this year, and I can't keep track without a calendar. All right, so that's a lot of slides.
Yes.
It's tomorrow. No, we're not gonna do the pattern. It's too long.
This is really Patrick.
So I will now tell you what will be on the quiz, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow the quiz will be on as following. The first 2 days of class, we did this first thing, which was evaluate expressions. We talked about what an expression was, and then I gave you values that you plug in. Can you guys do evaluate expressions? Okay. Simplify expression just means do the math. That literally is everything that's going to be on the quiz. I'm going to give you an expression. It's going to be a variable or numerical. If it's numerical, you just do the math. That would be the simplify. Or I will give you a variable expression. I forget how many, but I want to say it's like 5, maybe 6 questions on the quiz. It'll be a 10-minute quiz. It'll be the first thing we do tomorrow morning, right? And standard quiz. I've been home to school my whole life. This is the first time I've sat in a classroom. Anybody? Okay. So when we take a quiz or a test, what do you think happens in class? Like, what do you think the behavior is?
Quiet.
It is silent. It's not quiet. It is silent, right? You are as silent as possible. If you're that one little kid with a squeaky desk, right? Don't make your desk squeak, right? So you try not to disturb the people around you. When you're done, you don't do what I call the pencil slam. You know who does the pencil slam? The kid that's like, I'm going to show everybody in the class, I'm smarter than everybody. I'm going to slam my pencil down and say, I'm done. You guys are all horrible. I'm better than you. We're not doing a pencil slam, right? Listen, please. We're not going to do a pencil slam. I won't do like some teachers will put a clock up there. I will give you a 1-minute warning, right? On a test, I generally give you like a, hey, we're halfway through the test, right? Maybe give you a reminder, hey, you should be about around this question. But on a quiz, I'll just simply say, all right, start, turn your paper over, start. I'll give you a 1-minute warning. General test and quiz strategy is if you ever get hung up on one problem, skip it and then come back. Don't forget to come back, right? And that way you get the whole thing done. I don't want you to panic on the first quiz. If there's a kid out there, lots of kids have this anxiety, I'm worried, right? Sometimes giving warnings, all it does is throw you off, right? I apologize, but I do need to give everyone warnings for that. I always make the first quiz ridiculously easy to pass to give you the confidence, right, that you can, do well in my class. I'm not saying, hey, I don't need to worry about this, but I'm just saying the first quiz is pretty simple. All right, quick questions and I'll hand out worksheets.
What is the policy of flipping your page dramatically?
No, that's the same thing as a pencil slam.
I was going to say that with
Yeah, I'm just saying be nice to your fellow classmates. All right, here's your homework. Now listen up, last thing. We're going to do this quietly, work on this quietly. Yes. If you're one of those kids that tends to lose things, well, you've got between now and the end of school in case you lose this worksheet. If you forget to bring this to class tomorrow, remember, I am a human being. You simply just need to talk to me and say, I made a mistake, right? I left my worksheet. I couldn't find my worksheet. If you have a study buddy friend in this class and you go home and you're like, I can't find my worksheet, then you should be texting, emailing, calling that friend and saying, hey, can I get a picture of that worksheet so I can do it? Right? If you turn this in on a separate sheet of paper, I don't care, that's fine. Most people will just simply do the work on this sheet as well. Any questions? Yes. So the reason why putting arrows is important is because of next year, when you're doing the distributed property for real, the arrows slow you down and force you to see what two things you're multiplying together. So the answer to your question is yes, put arrows. Yes, sir.
Are we allowed to use these papers, like for examples of the quiz?
So remember, for a quiz or a test in my class, you are allowed to bring a single sheet of paper, front and back, with anything you want written on it. If you think one of those pieces of paper will help you, or you need to write down something on your resource card, that's fine. Secondly, if you're using a multiplication table, that doesn't count as your sheet of paper. So everybody could use a multiplication table if you want to. No one can use a calculator. Yes? Sure. All right, we're going to do this quietly. You guys should all get done in about 5 to 8 minutes. Perfect. Yeah. That's what most people do. Most people don't need to write the 5 times 8 thing. We'll just write. Yeah. Yep, you're doing good. Yes?
So we only have
10 problems.
Okay, so we have all of them.
You have all of them. Yes. Sure. Give me a second, and I will say goodbye to my e-learners. If you have any questions, e-learners, send me an email. If not, be ready for the quiz tomorrow.